about the scheme and evaluation, whatever we followed for the first IA. No, none of you have asked for any marks as such, but just to give a clarity, how I did evaluation. So first question was about the bring out the fundamental difference between the design philosophy of CPU and GPU, as we have stated. So CPUs are latency oriented and GPUs are throughput oriented. Once you write these questions, most often the things will be clear for that matter. So high clock frequency and large caches and sophisticated control of what are the bullet points. So with which you can argue, and diagrams are always better. So that normally any evaluator will look into diagrams first and then read the steps. So most often whenever you draw these, maybe it takes a little bit of time, but so most oftenly, you it drives the assumption that you know the stuff. Okay, the ALUs are powerful. The lesser able ALUs compared to the CPUs, and hence it's a throughput oriented. So there are many ALUs compared to this. So there are limited number of ALUs over there, and there are large number of ALU arrays. So hence a small cache. So DRAM is almost same, or the DRAM or the caches are distributed across the GPU arrays or the streaming multiprocessors. So whenever I say a GPU is a common term, so usually again there is a streaming multiprocessors. So then simple controls, so efficient energy efficient use. So that already means that you are driving this as a higher clock frequency, and these are driven at lower clock frequencies for that matter. Okay, once you write this, yes, 5 marks for that. Then for this example, most of you have written, so some scripts I have evaluated for that matter. You have written the number of registers and the cache size and the global memory or the constant memory sizes for that matter. Yes, that's even it's fine, because that satisfies the question. With a proper example, show the memory as a limiting factor. Now I have discussed, or in my scheme I have discussed with respect to the memory bandwidth as such. So 4 bytes per operations, or 2 bytes of floating operations, whatever the example was there, with respect to which we uh, discussed the stuff. Say 150 gigabits of memory bandwidth. In spite of that, for any operations I require 4 bytes for floating point operations. So that ultimately leads down to 37.5 gigaflops, which limits the computations. Okay, that the same stuff is explained, which says that to get a closer 1000, we need to drastically cut down the access of global memory, and hence make sure that you store most of the stuff nearer to the processor, and make it available. As well as the processor will not be even utilizing 32 point or whatever is there, 37.5 gigaflops per second. So it's not busy all the times. So I can have more pending requests with respect to global memory, and most of the stuff is available inside the constant or shared memory, and hence I can still achieve higher computations of the 1000 gigaflops per second, so and so on. So second question is about compiling CUDA compiler, and what is important is just-in-time compiler. So the left-hand side, so NVCC compiler, OC compiler, and there is a execution onto that particular machine. This is a normal C program style for that matter. What is different in CUDA program or the parallel device architecture is its heterogeneous computing, and whenever you say that CUDA.h, or there is a just-in-time compilation, and building happens in the runtime, so that that piece of code is allocated driven by say what is that devices, not in the host machines, right? So grid, there was one more I want to change this diagram for that matter. So ultimately it's a three-dimensional, and every grid is consisting of xyz blocks. So in the initial threads he is just depicting, say he has depicted xyz, and threads again xyz, and there is a limitation with respect to any GPU device for that matter. So how many blocks you can have and how many threads you can have within a block. As such, if you can explain that, that is more than sufficient. And three questions most of you have written what is meant by barrier synchronization. No issues about that. So that the latency time between threads should be as minimal as possible. Otherwise, what happens is thread 0 completes, but it has to wait for all the other threads. So you can make that sleep at a barrier for a larger amount of time. So if the latency time or the completion time of all the threads are somewhat similar kind of latency time, then barrier synchronization makes the all the threads to wait until everybody finishes, so that the waiting time for every thread is almost uniform or equal or minimal as possible for that matter. That speaks about barrier synchronization, so that you wait until everybody completes. Transparent scalability speaks about with respect to the code whatever you are writing, so automatically get distributed across different blocks. So yes, this diagram showcases so the array of how the blocks are arranged. So maybe in the y dimension you have more, or in the x dimensions you have more, and appropriately the threads are to be done. So normally it's a job of programmer for that matter. So whenever he uh, codes for any stuff or any application or function, so what he is doing is basically he gets CUDA get device properties. Once he gets the device properties, and appropriately you can plan the how many threads per block, and how many blocks per grid as such, and then you can accomplish that. So then what is the word transparent says is it is done by the device by itself. So each block of executing any order related to others, hardware is free to assign the blocks to any processor at any time. So kernel scales. So here hardware is free whenever he's stating that. So it is not a burden of a programmer as such. Okay. So that is meant by what is meant by transparent scalability. And this code I feel everybody has copied from where I have copied, and it's most often 3 is to 2 say vector addition was there. And what is important whenever you are showcasing this piece of code is, yes, for coding simplicity we can accept this, but professional coding, whenever you want to accomplish, what we are missing is the error piece of code. Whenever you accomplish or call any API for that matter, CUDA malloc. So CUDA malloc can result in an error. Most oftenly, you are asking or demanding for memory in the devices, and the devices may not be in a position to cater that. So then it gives error, and how do you handle that error is more prominent, and error detection of the error handling is missing this piece of code. But 5 marks question, that's more than sufficient. But to make something as professional, so you can think of all the possibilities. So malloc is served positively or malloc is served negatively, then what you will do whenever. So both success management and failure management has to be visible in your piece of code. Other than that, what is important, so the declaration of variables. So inside the say ABC, whenever you are here declaring, so most of your textbook says h underscore. So these are inside the host machine, and these def pointers are to be in the d underscore a, d underscore b. So that were to be declared with respect to the devices of the device pointers inside the GPUs. So that piece of code again, as I'm stating, so you are writing a CUDA code.cu file for that matter, and that would have been more professional for the matters. So enter the elements of first size 2 comma 3 instead of this. Again, we have to change because I have made n cross n. Okay. So basically how do I make changes is hash define n. So maybe it is 3 right now. So any changes in the macro is replicated wherever you have used n. So n is replaced by whatever the number you are putting for there, say 2 comma 3. Again I have to replace it n. So I have changed here but not the printf statements. So that is with respect to the your scheme, and COPO mappings I have depicted. Most oftenly coding theory paper, I'm not very much concerned about that, but whenever you say that I know this, and if you can execute the same stuff onto the Google Colab or in your any Visual C++ CUDA compiler onto your laptop, so you will appreciate much with respect to the timing aspects as such. Okay, NVProf and other APIs, whenever you use that, how much time is really saved whenever you go for a CUDA oriented devices or computation, how much time saved with respect to sequential approach and the heterogeneous computing as such. So any doubts with respect to scheme, you are free to ask. No doubts. Okay, then I will close the scheme and start with the topic. So, previous class we were discussing something about reductions. So, lecture 10 was with the reductions. Now we start something like parallel prefix sum or scans or strides. Uh, what it really is and why it is intended for that matter. There is some sausage breaking algorithm which is taken as an example with which he is explaining the entire importance of that particular prefix scans, so or the a particular parallel pattern that is normally exists in most of the scientific computations as such. As usual, when we start with a convolution, now the second pattern is prefix sum or scan algorithms. So frequently used for parallel work assignment resource allocations. So as we have stated, how much time is remaining whenever a new task arrives, and you look into the matter and you can accommodate it. So most of the data structures with respect to that OS kind of structures will be using these kind of approaches. So parallel, how do you implement it's a different issue, but how much time is remaining, who is consuming how much amount of time. So most of a table or the process control block or task control block will be having that a resource table, so that who is using what and how much he is using. Serial computations into parallel computations. So based on reduction tree and reverse reduction tree. Basically, what is reduction we have considered in the last class. What is it basically meant by reduction is you summate all the numbers or arrive from many to one kind of approach. So maxima, minima, summation, product. So these are the approaches. Whenever you say that a set of a array is produced, and from array you are arriving at a common number or single number, then that is called as a reduction. So then what is meant by parallel scan? So that how do you depict with respect to individual elements as such, or in terms of normal iterations. Okay. Sorry. So inclusive prefix sum. Inclusive is inclusive of first element whenever you are string. The all prefix sums operations are taken binary associative operator. So that means the operation, whether it is followed left to right or right to left or middle to the peripheries, in whatever the manner you are accomplishing, the end result should be same. So that is what is meant by the arrays, or say commutative or associative whenever you say that. So if you are providing an array, say x0, x1, n minus 1, so basically what is computed whenever I say that prefix sum is basically x0 is x0 directly, because we are stating it as inclusive. If it was exclusive, so first element would be 0, and then x0 plus x0 is x0. That's how it is yielded. Now there is no computation, so there is no symmetry. It's a first element, you are not adding anything. So second element onwards, so the second element is x0 plus x1, third element is x0 plus x1 plus x2, and so on. So until whenever you end up in a last number, so it is nothing but a summation of all the array elements as such. Why this is required as such? Okay. Yes, as we have stated, a sausage breaking. So whenever he wants to give it to 10 people, how much each person wants to is already known. So it is something like a resource allocation or some memory allotment. Say some mallocs have come to your OS, and OS looks into this. This is how the mallocs have come. So their consumption rates. So our consumption of bytes. The sausage ಅಂತ told the number of bytes whenever you take that. So what is happening is how do you normally cut it? So first demand comes 3, so cut it, so give it to him. Then next remaining whatever is remaining to cut 5. So whenever you are going for sequential, that takes a lot amount of time. So how much is left out? A new task arrives. Most often he is interested in how much is left out. So how much is available for me will be the question for that matter. Whenever you want to compute these kind of structures, that I want to cut immediately or instantaneously, everybody should know what is his share and how much is remaining yet. So they want to compute, say this is the given array, and he wants to arrive at this final stuff. So method one is cut section sequentially. So 3 inches first, 5 inches seconds, 2 inches. So this is how you are going cutting, and finally you can know after so many iterations of the until just one you count this. So if there are n minus 1, Then you come to know that this is so much is left. Method 2 is calculate a prefix scan, so that you arrive at these numbers, and whenever you have this, so 100 inch minus whatever, so minus 61 is 39 is left out. So everybody is consumed, and you can cut simultaneously, or where to make the cuts or the markings are already available with respect to these numbers. So these numbers are is you have to invariably go sequentially. So most oftenly in the parallel computation, so because you have all the stuff, so you can want to have that parallel computation. So how do I make these summations available for me parallel? So scan is simple and useful parallel building block, convert recurrences of several sequential events. So what you are doing is, James, you are repeatedly. So I'm just adding my neighbor or previous number plus current number. That is what is you are producing. Output j minus f new number. So in the array or the input vector, you are summating that. So this is a normal sequential approach. Whenever you want to go for parallel for all j, so whatever the, just consider the syntax. So for loop is now has become for all j is making it parallel onto the devices for the matter. Temp of j is equal to f of j scan out. So scan out is adding that previous stuff. So useful for many parallel groups. So whenever you are saying radix sort, quick sort, or sorting, or lexical analysis, or solving recurrences or histograms. Okay, so scan, prefix scan, or the strides. Again, I'm just using the nomenclatures which can be used with respect to prefix summation. So farmers market stock, memory, parallel threads, memory buffer. So these are the applications with which you want to use. So what you want to compute. So given a sequence x0 x1. So whenever you want to compute this, so using a inclusive operation or inclusive sequential scan. So y0 is equal to x0, then y1 is equal to x1 plus x0 plus x1, y2, and so on. So using a recursive definition, you generalize an empirical formula yi is equal to yi x1 plus xi. So that means whenever you consider this particular y, it is inclusive of all the previous numbers. So that means they are summated. If I say considering just as a summation for that matter. So work efficient C programming implementations. This is outside the loop, because the first number you are not doing any manipulation as such. So within a loop, with respect to the number of elements max of 5. So you are adding previous sum to the current element in that particular array. That's how you are going for sequential computation, computationally efficient. N additions needed for n elements. So overall, you want to add n elements, O of n, or the computation complexity. So O of n, or big O notation, is basically speaks about how much is the computation complexity as such. So if I consider two numbers, the additions are twice. If I consider let's say n numbers, the computation complexity is n. So number of computations whatever is happening are varying directly with respect to the number of inputs, in this case at least. So whenever you go to the further complexities of that, whenever input vector changes, maybe it may not be always direct or linear for that matter. It may be exponential, or it may be exponentially decaying, or so it depends upon the computation whatever you're doing. So or log n kind of structures, so that where the computations will affect. So there is a polynomial how the number of computations will increase or decrease. So that is normally represented by big O notation. So what happens with respect to the number of input or input vector for that matter. So what is the relation between parallel scan and the reduction? Multiple reductions operations happen in parallel scans. What if we implement it that way? It consumes more time. So how many operations? Each reduction tree is ON operations. So whenever you are considering up to that number, whenever I'm saying that, you are adding, or basically you are using that additions. Reduction trees of size n minus 1, n minus 2 to 1, very work inefficient. So important concept. That means basically what he's stating is, if I want to compute y0, see no additions also, because it is inclusive. First element is passed as it is. Whenever you are going with respect to computing of y1, y2, and so on, so basically the plus signs, whenever you are seeing these are to be accomplished by the devices by themselves Fine. So that means so many additions, or you require so many adders. By the time, if I say that it was a sequential, whenever in the previous approach, n elements and n additions were sufficient to arrive at the data. But now what you expect is, whenever you get this array, and this is what I want to compute, and whenever you want to compute this, there are 3 additions, there are 4 additions, and so on. So number of adders increase, so the resources are not used efficiently, and hence we are saying that computationally inefficient you are. There is no or lesser usage, and work inefficient. So anybody 1 minute close. So what happens for better parallel enthusiasts? So initially we have a vector. So read the input device memory to shared memory, so that now all the threads will act upon these numbers to produce the results, and hence the elements of this array is copied to shared memory. Fine. So whenever you are stride one, or the iteration one for that matter, whenever you are computing this, so what is happening is, first one is passed as it is, so fine. But what is happening to the other numbers? So log n times, so thread stride n, add pairs of elements, stride elements apart. So stride element is, now it is initially stride is 1, next is stride into 2, so 4 8. That's how the previous algorithm, if you can just recollect the previous slide or whatever we have showcased. So what is happening is, previous element, so every element is getting added to the previous element. Say first element, so 3 plus 1 4, then 7 is 7 plus 1 is 8, and 7 is 7 plus say 0. So in stride 1 you are computing the next elements until it becomes say okay. So not fully all, you are not using all the adders. Stride 2, now 2 elements apart are being added. What is happening is, you pass it these numbers as it is. So 3 is passed as it is, 4 is passed as it is, because the stride now is 2. So initially it was 1. So now 3 plus 8 is 11, and 4 plus 7 is 11, and so on. So you are adding the elements. And how do you compute this? How many strides are required? With whatever the numbers. If I say 8, log n is basically 3 times of the 3 strides are required to compute the stuff. So whenever you complete this stride, say stride 3, so basically logins, stride 3 of Krishna, so you will have all the numbers. So every number is a summation of previous elements, as 3 plus 4 8, and so on. So you require log n iterations, thread strides on n, add pairs of elements, strides up and double strides, write output from shared memory to the device memory. Once you have computed, this is loaded into the device memory. From there you can output the result. So how to handle dependencies? During every iteration, each thread can overwrite the input of the another thread. So input of the another thread is because we see that these elements are retained as it is. So whereas the other elements, so previously it was 1, now it is replaced by 4, or 3 plus 1. So you are making that element change. So that's what is he is mentioning, to override the input of the others, so that you have completed the computation of all the elements, say 4 8 7, or the whatever the pairs you are adding. So all that have been completed. Only after that you can go to the next stride, that is implemented by synchronization. Right. So need barrier synchronization, ensure all inputs have been properly generated. All threads secure input operand that can be overwritten by the another thread. So overall, how do you prevent the mishaps as such? Is basically you wait until everybody has computed this segments, or sections as such, because first one is not adding, he is just passing the elements back to the data structure of the shared memory. So until last one finishes, you have to wait, and hence the synchronization. Fine. How do you write? So most oftenly the section size, block size, whenever you look into these numbers of variables for that matter, section size basically states about how many elements you are considering at a given point of time. Most oftenly it is equal to the block size. because you are manipulating in terms of threads, and so many threads within a block. If you are considering that, because that is available already, we can go ahead with respect to most oftenly section size is equal to block size. So otherwise, section size is what is the segment of input data currently under considerations, where you are manipulating the stuff, and because you are taking it as a shared, because it has to be shared across the threads. And global indexing is happening with respect to blocks, block into block dimensions, threaded x. So this has to be less than the input size. So overall, what is the input size of the thread? So maybe you are considering the 256 elements are there. Currently, my section size is 16, and uh, whatever the input size 16 is much less than 256. And yes, you can go ahead with respect to that parallel computations as such. So that's where section size or input size comes into handy, because you are using for all in some of the threads as such. Right now, it's a for loop we are using. So input size is less than thread id x. You are loading with the x of I. Then within the strides, input 1, so thread idx minus strides. So basically 2 elements before, or 1 element before, 2 elements before, 4 elements before, and so on. So ultimately, and that's how you want to compute the computations. So you sync them. So after the computations, so additions are happened, and then only you can, whenever you are returning back, say for the next iterations, whenever the stride has changed by multiplication of 2, it sees to that every addition has been accomplished. Fine. So that's what is happening in one. So first attempt scan executes log n parallel iterations, n minus 1, n minus 2, and odds. So second iterations go to the next level. So there are many additions initially, then the lesser number, say 8, 4, 2, 1. That's how the iteration will complete, so that you arrive at a final element or summation for the pointer. Basically, that's a reduction, but we want to go for a parallel scan. So just remember that reduction parallel scan. The scan algorithm is not work efficient. Sequential scan requires n additions, but now whenever see log n is number of iterations you are stating. So most often, if you are considering 1 million elements, there are 20 times more adders or additions are required to compute the same algorithm. So and hence he says this work allotment, whatever is happening with respect to this algorithm, is inefficient. So a parallel algorithm can be slow when execution resources are saturated. So whenever you are considering 1 million elements, and if there are no sufficient resources, that again adds, so that they have to wait for their turn. So some code has to, because the number of blocks or number of threads are limited. So whenever you want to new resources, invariably you have to be waiting for them. How do you accomplish a common parallel algorithm patterns? So balance trees, build a balance tree so on the input data and sweep it to the root. So final sums are available in terms of the roots. Elements are available at the leaves. So in whatever the way you are drawing the diagrams, most oftenly tree structure is drawn from the root first, and then the leaves later part. Normally in any of the computer related architectures as such. In this case, you take it in a reverse manner, that leaves first and rootlets later as such. Tree is not an actual data structures, but a concept to determine what each thread does at each step. Okay, so that's how you are trying to improve efficiency from the inclusive scan of the exclusive scan. Exclusive scan is most often you add that additional 0 and right shift the data array initially, so that you can put that xy element from the available x elements. So traverse from leaves to root, building a partial sums at internal nodes of the tree. Roots hold the sums of all the leaves. Traverse back to the trees. Some scan for the partial sums. Okay. So roots will have the final conclusion element, and leaves will have the elements by themselves. So whenever you are seeing that yellow elements of the first iteration, so these are the leaflets and these are the intermediate nodes, or you are moving towards the root. So this is my root. Normally you see there's root, then elements. So up down structure of this. Fine. Login iterations whenever we are stated. So initially you had so all the elements. When you look into the reduction of the previous slides, chapter was with respect to even elements. Now, as I stated, observation is with respect to the odd elements he is moving. So basically, because you want to compute the prefix sum, so x1 is nothing but x1 plus x0 this should be available. It's a prefix sum of parallel scan elements. How to want I want to produce it. So that's the order. So first iteration, you are loading all the elements to the shared memory. So second iterations, you are computing these levels x0, x1, x2, x3. These are being added. So pairs or neighbors are added, and result is stored into the odd threads for that matter. And 4, 2, 1. So 3 iterations, 7 elements or the 8 elements. So log n. So within 3 iterations, you arrive at a final value after the reduction. And similarly, they should be made available. Say x2 should be, what we are missing is x0, x1 plus x2 should be made available over here. That is what is missing in this particular tree as such, right? Whereas reduction is fine. What we wanted to compute is a prefix sum. So prefix sum state that x2 bandaga, say x2 and this one. So this has to be added, and I should be able to get x0 plus x1 plus x2 at this vertical lines as such. So reduction step of kernel scan array block size to into shared memory. You are loading that block. So then strides. So whenever your index is less than the block size, so 2 times the block size, you are loading a lot of elements in the block size. So double elements are loaded. So then scan array index. So add with respect to strides and multiply strides. So what is stride? Add with respect to stride and multiply with respect to strides is. So initially I am adding the stride is 2. So 1 and 2, and whenever it becomes 4, yes, so every fourth element you are adding. And finally you are able to compute or reduce that numbers to the stub. So you are waiting for all iterations sync threads. So inclusive post scan steps. So what we have stated is somewhere then intermediates x5 and they were missing their summations as such, and that's where you just pass on this. As we have showcased, x2 was not computed, so we wanted to have an array where every element is summation of all the previous elements inclusive of the current elemental considerations. Okay, with respect to input factor we are stating it. So that was missing with respect to reduction tree, whatever we have drawn over here, and that code. So that was reduction. Now we want to build something similar to the prefix summation. So whenever you compute this, what is happening is, so you have reduced, so until here it's a reduction, fine. What has happened is, so there were see the 16 iterations, so there are 8 additions, then 4 additions, 2 additions, and final addition that has produced this. So you are happy with how much time is remaining, or what is the summation of all the numbers in the array. But whenever I want to get into this kind of intermediate structures, basically what is missing is this summation is passed. So x0 plus x1. So whenever I want to compute what is x2, x2 is just x2. It is missing that previous summations as such. So if you can just pass it that. So now this node has x0 plus x1 that is passed on to the x2. Now x2 plus x0 plus x1 will yield this. Similarly, this has the summation of previous, and the inverted tree structures, whatever you are showcasing, this passing of these elements. Uh, so center lines. So this is center with respect to 8 and either madhyadali. So 8, 4, and 2, and so onwards. So they have to be passed on, so that every element, whatever you have seen, is a summation of previous elements. That is putting all together, you are able to generate a prefix summation, or whatever we called, we started with the class of parallel scan or parallel summation or sausage example. So where just okay, so given an input array something of this sort, we want to produce an output array which is where every element is summation of previous elements. So 4 is 3 plus 1, so 11 is 7 plus 1 plus 3, and so on. So that's where we arrive at this diagram, and most often it is inspired by Breton Kunge adder of your VLSI architectures, where prefix summation is carried out or followed. So once you understand these characters, and the next question is with respect to the drives. So how do you make this as more efficient or parallel prefix in computations as such? Okay, I think I'll take up in next class. I think. Okay, we'll just browse through this and then close this session. Same thing is repeated for maybe 10 slides. I think the same iteration, log n computations. So stride 4. So how much we have completed, the same slides are repeated. Balance trees, you are missing this data now that has been added, so that so this was with respect to reduction, and you move that middle level values so that the computation is from beginning to end or to that particular element as such. So block size shared memory, stride 1. So the same code for the whatever the diagram has been showcased. How do you access these elements and then pass on the values to the intermediate sections? So sometimes you may get into stride divide by 2, or the section set divide by 2, or the block size into 2. So with respect to that, you are making that to happen, and you shall wait till all of them have completed. So whenever you are moving from this vertical, say horizontal line, to next level, so that means these are threads that are computing. You have to wait until everybody finishes, then only you can pass on. Otherwise, the values are normally iterated, or you are rewriting onto the same structures. So variables as such. How it is passed, basically the middle values are considered, and from where it is passed on to the next levels. So the same value is passed on to this and this. So same value is passed on, so from middle to end as such. Fine. Okay, post scan step. So scan is initially produce that summations intermediately, or the until reduction. After that, so he is going with respect to divide by 2, as I stated, stride divide by 2, and make this computations available. So even these inverted tree structures, whatever you are saying, that is your post scan. So pre-scan is until reduction. After post-scan, so I just want all the elements, and that's what is showcasing these particular slides. Okay, I just don't want to read the slide code as such. You read it and convince yourself. So any doubts? So some trade-off for energy efficiency. Whenever you're saying that for mobile device kind of applications, there are more adders, and whenever you are computing, and the energy efficiency is not so much because you are repetitively adding that. So not so much efficient with respect to energies. Again, he speaks with respect to inclusive and exclusive what is that, prefix scans. So they are totally inefficient, neither in terms of performance nor in terms of work efficiency or energy efficiencies. So exclusive, already as I stated, so you are adding one more element 0 to your array, and then you are computing, so the original array and the next shifted array, right shifted array. So previously inclusive was the x0 was passed to y0 without any manipulation as such, or direct stuff as such. So to find a beginning of so how do you compute? It's up to the programmer's view as such. Okay. Anyway, I will repeat this in the next class. So some manipulation is required from here onwards. There's a larger deviation, and hence I will deal it in next class as such. So any doubts until now? Okay then, shall we close the class? Yes, anyone who can type the message or say yes or no. Okay then, I will close the session for today. Any doubts, please post it onto the classroom, or you can ask in any manner. Thank you.